You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and it's great to be back with you here today. Looking forward to today's show, our Motivation and Mindset Monday. One of the best ways to get our week started off right is to begin with our mind. Because as our mind goes, so does our day go. If we let our mind get away from us, we will let our day get away from us. So here's what we need to do. We need to set the intention for how we want our day to go. If we take care of each day, it's going to take care of the weeks. And that's what I'm most excited about this year, is that we begin to look at life in a new way. We begin to look at it not as this massive to-do list of things that we need to do, but overall, how are we looking at our life? So what we do is we set our intention for where we want our life to go. We decide the path that we want to take right from the beginning. Now, we've spoken about it before on previous Cabral Concepts. We've talked about how to set our goals, and that's so important. And if you haven't tuned into that, do go back and listen to previous Mindset and Motivation Mondays. What I want to talk with you about today is just a little bit different, and that is this. When you set goals for yourself, a lot of times they seem way out there, right? Way out there, what does that mean? Well, it means not within your grasp. So when we set a goal to transform our body, let's give that as an example. A lot of people right now, right? About 2/3 of the population are overweight and away from their ideal body. Well, when we look at that and we set a goal, I want to be in great shape, it seems out of our grasp because a lot of times we haven't been in the shape that we truly desire for maybe 10 years. Maybe it's been even longer. Or we've never been in that shape. No one in our family's ever been in that type of shape. So how is it possible? How would we ever achieve that if we don't even know what that looks or feels like, right? So if you can't grasp it, if you can't see it, if you can't touch it, it's hard for you to ever achieve it. And that's because before you ever achieve anything in the reality of your world, right? Anything tangible, anything that you can touch, you still have to be able to visualize it and believe it in order to achieve it. And the reason is that if you don't truly believe it, meaning you haven't had the vision first, and you don't believe it, then you are not going to take the proper action steps needed in order to move forward towards that goal. So what I need you to do today is this. Whatever your intention is for this new year, and I do hope that you've set goals for yourself. Setting goals is not cliche, it's not overdone, it's extremely important. Use this time of the year. Use this fresh start as a way to renew yourself, as a way to say, last year was last year. That literally is the old you. That is a cliche, but it's absolutely true. That person no longer exists. The 2018 you is done with. They no longer exist unless you decide to bring them into this new year. That's the only way. So what I want you to do, if you want a new body, well, great. Then this is the new you. This is the new year to do that. Same with relationships. Do you want your relationships to be better? I'm guaranteeing you right now that there's one relationship, whether it's with parents, friends that you've lost connection with, whether it's your spouse, your partner, your kids. I'm guaranteeing you that one of those relationships can be taken to a deeper level. Do you have plans in order to improve that? Because if you don't, I hate to be the one to say it, it's not going to improve on its own. I wrote an email about this yesterday. I do hope that you're on my email list. You can just literally go to stephencabral.com, sign up in any of those funny little pop-ups or whatever that pops up. Like literally, just go to the website and you will find your way to that. Well, once a week, I send out an email. And the email is basically my collection of thoughts, what I'm thinking going into the new week. It's always my Sunday email. it's kind of getting my head right for the week. Well, I talked about this and I spoke about it and I said, if you don't set the intention to be willing to do the work to achieve your goal, might as well set the goal. And here's why. We need to impress upon ourselves that the way to achieve our goals is about doing the work, not hating the work, not saying, oh, I don't want to do the work to get to the goal, but understanding that doing that work, putting in the time, the commitment, the energy, shows life that we're worthy of achieving that thing, right? If you want that great relationship with your parents, your kids, your spouse, whatever it might be, it's going to take work. It does not happen by accident, right? It's thinking about that person during the day, and you might not be able to give them a call, but you send them a nice text. It's letting them know that you are there. And then when you are able to speak, you might give them a call on your ride home, even though if you are going to see them. Or you actually do something greater, right? To a greater extent, you actually do something fun, like write them a letter, write them a postcard. Or you would actually say, hey, we haven't been in touch for a while. Why don't we go grab lunch together? Why don't we get our families together? Whatever it might be. Something that's going to then take that thought, yes, I'd like a better relationship with this person, to then the next level. And it might feel uncomfortable in the beginning. It always does. It's you breaking your comfort level, right? It's you breaking this artificial barrier that you've set up, no one else, that you've set up probably just in your mind as well, in order to achieving that goal. Now, a lot of times we do that because it makes life at the time easier. Because again, it always takes a little bit more effort. It always takes a little bit more time commitment, any one of these things, in order to achieve the goals we set for ourselves. But that truly is the way that life is. Life is not testing us all the time, but it is seeing if we are worthy of having that. If we want the exceptional life, we have to do the exceptional things that most people would never be willing to do in life. And that's how we have to look at it, is like, literally, they say, if it were easy, everyone would have it, right? Well, that's the truth. I mean, that is literally the truth. But I don't know if it's unfortunate. I don't believe it is unfortunate that that's not the way that life is. That life does ask you to play, right? It asks you to get out there and get involved in your own life. Well, if you do that, you will see tremendous changes. I'm going to link up a podcast today that I would love you to listen to. It was my start to getting ready for last year. Every single thing I talk about in that podcast holds true for this year. I was actually just going to do a repost, but I always do a fresh show every single day, and I didn't want to do that today. And I didn't want to do the same exact show. So when you're done with today's show, and I won't make this a long one because I really want you to listen to this show as much as I want you to listen to today's, because the two go hand in hand. It was episode 682. So if you go to StephenCabral.com, you can just go to StephenCabral.com/682. It's the easiest way to get to it. On iTunes, I believe you can still get to it for another month or two because they only allow the last 300 at a time, although we are going to be putting up the archives very, very soon, so check out for that. But you'll just scroll back to 682. That's our episode 682. It says the top 2 things you need to do now to make 2018 your best year yet. Well, replace 2018 with 2019. And when you get to 2020, replace it with 2020 because this material is evergreen. It's going to live on forever. I did not make up the information. I am a messenger for this information. It's been around forever. What I did was put it into my words in a way that I believe our community can connect with. So check out StephenCabral.com/682, which will give you the how to do it, right? It will absolutely give you the how to achieve all of your goals this year and how to break them down. What I want to do today is to get you to understand. I'm about to give you the how in 682, but you need to pull these goals out of the ether, right? In Ayurveda, we call it the ether. It's all around us, but it's not a part of us. It's not a part of our own little ecosystem, our reality, until we make it that, and until we truly believe it. And that truly is the hardest part of goal setting and goal achievement. It's not the how. We can give you the how, but it's the realization that anything you want, literally anything you want, is yours as long as you are willing to do whatever it takes. And that's from a positive perspective, meaning that you truly can achieve these things if you're willing to just put in that little bit of effort. But it starts with the belief that all things are possible. And this is where having a little bit of faith comes in. You have to have faith, I would say, not necessarily in yourself in the beginning, because that's the truth, that it's difficult in the beginning until you've gotten a few wins under your belt to believe that you have the power to achieve it. Let's go back to that body transformation. If you haven't been in the shape that you want for 10 years, your belief in yourself might not be as high that you're going to achieve the goal that you're going to be in your best shape yet 10 years later, 10 years older, right? So what you're going to need to simply believe in is that it's possible. You might not have the wherewithal, the wisdom, all of the knowledge that you need to make it happen, but all you need to do is start with the faith that you can make it happen, right? That there's a possibility of making this happen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to allow for that small thought, right? Because we're suspending disbelief, which is so important. You've now suspended disbelief, which means that before your mind was saying there's no way you can achieve that, there's no way that you can do it, you were never in that great a shape in the first place, how are you going to make it happen now? Okay, we're just going to say we're willing to believe that it can happen. We don't know if we can yet, but it can happen to someone like you. That's all we need. So now there's a little bit of doubt. There's a little bit of what we call a chink in the armor that will allow you to let other thoughts now come in. So the next thought is just, again, so first we have the faith that it's possible. We have no idea how it's going to happen, but it is possible. Next we move on to this. We say this to ourselves. It's possible. Now, what would it take for someone in a position like mine, maybe not me, but in a position like mine to make this happen? And at this point, your mind is just, it's wandering. You allow it to wander. You would say, well, I'd have to probably figure out how someone like me, not someone who's already in like cover model shape or an athlete or a celebrity or a model or whatever it might be, how they got in shape. But how did someone like me, like my body type, my frame, my ability to get to the gym and work out and not being able to dedicate all this time and money to exercise or eating well, like how did someone like me start to get in shape? Because that's what you're going to ask yourself. That's more of your reality. And then you're going to start to say, okay, well, where would I go look for that information? All right, let me go look online, right? Or let me go look at one of these books that might talk about how someone like me went from this to that, and that would be the after. And then I would start to say, okay, well, what plan did this person follow to go from looking like me, and kind of feeling like me too, to the body that I want, that they got, right? And you would say, okay, well, they're probably different than me. Let me look up a little bit more about their background. Okay, yep, they have 2 kids and they still work full time and they don't get to control all their meals. Okay, well, yeah, that kind of sounds like my life. Now, what type of a plan did they follow? Because pretty much my life, pretty much the same starting point, and I want to get to their ending point. What did they do? Then you're going to start to look in their plan. Okay, they exercise 3 times a week. Every day they got their 10,000 steps. They stopped eating around 6, 7 o'clock at night, tried to get to bed a little bit earlier, improved their sleep quality, ate a little bit more vegetables than they did more of the processed foods. They cut out any beverages that were not water. They started to move their exercises from gradually a little bit more intensity each week. Okay, so those are all things that I could probably do as well. Wouldn't be easy in the beginning. I probably would fail the first couple times, but I think I could eventually do that. If you see this process, all we're beginning to do is to break down the mental barriers that each one of us has, depending on whatever goal it is that we're seeking. Now remember, I want you to look at this from this perspective. There are many things that you have in your life right now that other people want. You might not think that that's true, but there are many things that you have in your life. Most likely it's either your health, it's your weight, it's a relationship, it is your career, or it's your spirituality. It's something, a skill. There's something that you have that someone else would love to have. And you have to understand, whatever that thing is, it comes easy to you, right? You probably don't even have to really work at it, but someone else would. And they would have to do the same exact process. So just understand there are some things that come easy to you and some that don't. But that doesn't mean that things that don't come easy to you can't be yours as well. And it also doesn't mean that a year from now, as you look back in 2020, that the things that you thought were once hard are now actually pretty easy. And the reason is this, is you've systematically figured out a way to achieve that thing. That's what we teach in our practice every single day. I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get well, because we're going to get you well. And when you do, you will have the clear blueprint, if you were ever needed again, of how to get back your health. Because our bodies are pretty interesting. They improve in the way that they're supposed to improve, and they unravel in the way that's set up within our genetics. So for me, it's really easy for me to figure out when I'm not on the best track because I've realized this. And again, I'm maybe a little bit of a slower learner than others, but I've realized that my body starts to get run down in a very specific way. I start to get a little bit of brain fog and I start to get a little bit more irritable. I can feel it. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm not bounding out of bed with the energy that I usually have. And then I start to get a little bit more like of a skin rash, like a little bit of that rashiness to my skin, almost like a psoriasis, but not. And then after that, I might start to get a little bit of joint pain, and it's not always in the same joints. It might be stiffness behind my knees. Sometimes it's stiffness near the thumbs. And I say, oh, those are my triggers. I say, all right, I'm too far off track. Whatever I've been doing, whether it's too much travel, or it's working too much, not getting enough sleep, or too many cheat meals, right? Too many flex meals. Whatever it might be, it's getting myself back on track. And the nice thing is, I know how to get back on track. And the reason is that I used to relapse. This is a while ago now, but I used to relapse many, many times. And I got to figure out how my body likes to live in this world, right? The foods that work best for me, the supplements that work best for me, the amount of sleep that I need, how many weeks I can go or how many days without getting the proper amount of sleep, with traveling or working this hard, whatever it is. And I begin to figure this out. And that's why over this process, you are figuring out the same exact thing. So as we're going back to our example, and you're going back to breaking down those mental barriers just by saying this, I believe that it's possible. I don't know how, no idea how this is going to happen, but I believe that it's possible. Now let me go out and seek someone else, a mentor, a coach, a peer, a coworker, a family member who's gotten results, maybe not exactly like mine, because no two people are exactly alike, but similar enough that I could start with that pattern that they did, as long as I can fit it within my lifestyle. Can I fit at least 80% of what they did in my lifestyle? Because that's enough. And if you can, great. Then that is the place to start. The place to start is what you believe you can achieve. Because the goal at the end, right? What we're trying to achieve at the very end, that goal way out there, it doesn't even exist. It is the image, the visualization, the last point of achievement in a long line of little achievements. That goal it never gets to you. You get to it. Meaning that you walk the path of achieving the small wins along the way that eventually make up that goal. So for example, we have a lot of people right now in our integrative health practitioner certification. Some people are just taking the course because they want to improve their own health and they want to be able to teach others. Others, they want to become health coaches, but they've never done this before. And they have no idea how. So what are they doing? They're simply going through the modules, going through the lessons, and they're taking notes. And a lot of it might be new, but some of it may not be. So they're taking what may not be new and building upon that. And each module, each lesson is deepening in their knowledge. And then they're given other examples for if they want to continue their knowledge of here are the previous podcasts to listen to. Here are additional books you could read. And each lesson then leads to a new book, or it leads to more podcasts to listen to. And what that enables them to do is realize the next step as they take the first one, right? We take our first step. We don't always know where the second will be. Well, here it is. Because a lot of times a mentor or coach, a blueprint, a book, or something will pass on that next step. And that's what we're looking to do in life. And if we don't worry about the end goal itself, but we worry about the path that it takes to become the person to achieve that goal, the goal takes care of itself. I found that not only does the goal take care of itself, we get something even better. That's what I'm looking for. So a lot of times, yes, people going into integrative health practitioner certification or course are looking to get themselves better or heal a loved one or get a career in health coaching. But what they find along the way are truly what they're passionate about. They begin to realize their potential. Maybe it's not in them specifically as a health coach. Maybe they realize they love this part of life even more. Maybe they want to go into more personal training or yoga, or they want to go back for acupuncture, or they do want to they want to become a health coach and they want to do what we do and speak with people all over the world. Maybe that is their goal, right? Or what about other people as they're looking at this fresh new year and they're saying, I think I have my career pretty well. I have my finances. I feel like I have my health pretty good. My body's pretty good, but I'm lacking the deep relationships that I want, right? Or I'm looking for that one person that I want to spend my life with, that I'm tired of not being able to meet the right person. Well, then that person is not going to say, okay, I need to go on this online dating service or that one or this one and just at a surface level, just kind of keep doing the same things they've always done. That's not the goal here. The goal here is to say, this is the type of person I'm looking to meet. I don't need to necessarily get it right down to the, color toothbrush they use. We don't have to get it that fine-tuned. But this is the type of person. And then ask yourself, what would you have to do to make yourself a good vibrational match with that type of person? Where does that person typically hang out? Where do they go? If there's someone that's into their own health and you don't seem to meet people that are into their health, well, where would healthy people go? If I'm thinking about it right now, well, healthy people, the people that you may want to meet, are the ones that are going to the local farmers markets, that are going to the certifications and seminars on there on how to improve their life. They're the ones that are in places like CabralSupportGroup.com, just our online community group, right? And other community groups. Or they're at a yoga class, a local yoga class. Or they're shopping at an organic health food store. So all you're trying to do is you're becoming the person yourself that would be a good match for that person, thinking the way that you want to think that you would want that person to think, meaning that if you're trying to be a more positive, upbeat person, because that's what you're looking for, you're going to end up being a better vibrational match anyways. You're going to be more likely to connect with that person. So you're going to start then going through that motions. Sure, you can still do online dating. You can get set up with friends, et cetera, et cetera. But what you're trying to do is put yourself out there as the person that's worthy to meet this person in the first place. Because you never know, right? You never know. You never plan when you're going to finally get to that last stage, when you're finally going to reach that goal. What you're doing is you're having the faith that it can take place in the first place. That could never happen. And that's what today's show is all about. If you don't believe it can ever happen, you can't achieve it. If you do achieve it, it's by luck and it won't stay. That's the thing I want to share with you. If for some reason you bumped into your goal, but you didn't believe it could happen in the first place, and you didn't make yourself worthy of achieving that goal, it will never stay. We know that. We've seen what happens to lottery winners, right? We've seen what happens to people when they come into something that they didn't necessarily have to change to get there. So all I want you to think about is this, is that you're absolutely worthy right now. You're worthy right now of achieving any goal you want. Believe that for yourself, that you do deserve it. What we need to do now is simply make the full commitment. Make the commitment. Have the faith that you are now going to see it through. Whether it's your health, whether it's your body, whether it's relationships, right? Whether it's your spirituality, that you want to feel more connectedness in 2019. That you want this to be the year that you start to go deeper in life, right? That you start to look at life at a deeper level. Like, what does this mean? What does it mean for you? What do you want your place to be in this world? I want you to take all of these things into consideration, whether it be career, body, spirituality, relationships. your health, first believe you can achieve it. I've seen people, tell you right now, in some of the most deplorable health conditions that I've seen, with health issues that they honestly had no business ever getting better, but they did. They became better. And the way they became better is that they either had faith in themselves that it could happen, the universe, that they could come to them, or the book that they read, the blueprint, the mentor, the doctor, the coach, whoever it might be, that they could help. What I need you to do is, if you don't believe in yourself yet, although I want you to, is to just believe that it's possible. Because someone out there just like you has already achieved it. Most likely tens of thousands of people just like you, not kind of like you, but just like you, have already achieved it. And the only difference is that they believed. They believed and they were willing to see it through. After that, they simply started asking questions. Well, what if I began to do this? Well, this might happen if I were to do what? What would it look like if I had achieved this? What would have to have happened? And you begin to play out the scenarios in your head. You just make a game of it. And then you begin to work the plan. Now, at this time, I want you to check out that episode that I just spoke previously, because I give you now that plan. And not only do I give you the plan, I help you break it down to make it very real world and realistic. Because I believe most people, if they haven't already achieved their goal within 12 weeks, will be well on their way, especially using this plan. So when you go to StephenCabral.com/682, and on that show 682, it will give you what I call my 12-week year. It's based on the book 12-Week Year. It breaks things down every 90 days. And not only go from 90 days, but it goes from 90 days to 30 days to 7 days to 1 day at a time. If you follow this formula, you basically take your mind out of the game. And that's what a lot of us need to do. We need to literally take our mind out of it until we start to get those small wins. Because once you get the small wins, you see the momentum building. You realize that if you just got this small win, you can get the next one. Because I'm not asking you to do anything monumental. There are no monumental tasks on the way to achieving your goal. There are just small ones. We just make it out to be huge ones, right? We just make it out to be, we need to overcome these huge obstacles. No, it's almost never the case. We always have to overcome the small obstacles of being consistent on a daily basis. When we do that, that is how we just see ourselves 10 weeks, 12 weeks down the road. By the time we're there, we're so close to the finish line, we can see it. That's when the excitement builds and we want to do more. Not only that, when we achieve that goal, we say, listen, if I achieve that and I never in a million years believed I could have done it, what else can I do? That is when life starts to get fun. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm telling you right now, these Motivation and Mindset Mondays are as much for myself as they are for anyone else. Please do feel free to share this show with anyone it could serve. Take care, everyone. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well, finally, is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.